Hey guys, welcome back to another season of BFL Fantasy Football. What a great season it should be. Been doing this a long time, and I look forward to it each and every year. Just want to say before I get started here, John wasn't able to make it tonight. Just couldn't connect, unfortunately. A lot of things going on in both our lives. Young children have a tendency to cause chaos, among other things. But we miss you, John, and hope you're watching. I have a bunch of notes here, so I'm going to be glancing off camera quite a bit just to kind of keep myself on track. Before I get started into the breakdown of the Week 1 projections, what I'd like to do is just congratulate the league on a great draft. I feel like this year everything went smooth. Pacing was good. Picks were all done fairly well. For those that were, there in person or not, Phil was even able to get to make quite a few of his own picks before Goody taking over for him. And shout out to Goody for doing that, taking that on. That's quite a task. I've had to do that 1 year for Ryan actually. It can be quite a chore. So appreciate you doing that. And then thanks again to Ben for hosting. For those that haven't been able to make it, it's a absolute great venue. Maybe a little warm for my taste, but I'm a big boy, so we work it out though. No, it's always a good time getting together and seeing you guys. And then just so far, the start we're having to the year, the chat's been more active. Just since I started recording, Dom has probably unsent 2 messages to the group, so everything's going according to plan. Fantasy gods are watching, Dom, always. I also thought that maybe in the future we could start taking pictures of everybody that attends the draft, just kind of see what it looks like over the years. It'd be really interesting if we had about 20 years worth of pictures. If we'd have done that earlier, maybe we also could have shortened the FBI investigation or called To Catch a Predator, for those that get that joke anyways. We're not going to be doing a draft breakdown this year. Didn't feel it was necessary. Honestly, it would have been really hard to come up with picks that I wasn't a big fan of, because they were all made by Goodwin, because he started in the 11th round or whatever. That's a joke, obviously. Did the best with what you had. And but no, seriously, I felt like the talent was so deep this year. There really wasn't any bad or egregious picks. That's a lot of time and effort just to nitpick and stuff like that. So don't feel it was too necessary. The only pick I guess I would have griped about is, Nate inexplicably taking Allen Robinson, who is obviously not going to get. He's going to average, I'd say, about 2 targets a game, maybe get 1 catch for 4 yards. Nate, you took him right before Gabe Davis. What a fucking loser! My God, idiot. Anyways, that's for you, Drew. And then, so the Thursday night game, obviously having hindsight being the 2020 there, there's things we already know that are going on, and there's going to be some overreacting, and that's really that's the lovely thing about the media and fantasy football, is we get to overreact after one game or 1 week. But just all you managers out there, all you tinkerers and overthinkers, just relax. It's a long season. There's a reason why guys have averages, and they somehow end up always working out in the end. But I will say Buffalo looked amazing, and there are some troubling signs long term for the Rams. But, in 2 more weeks, it may be the other way. It may be the Bills at 1-2 and the Rams at 2-1, and I doubt that's going to be the case, but you never know. So having said all that, I guess I'll get right into the matchups here. I went in order of how they were shown on my phone, which of course has my matchup first. And then I'll just talk briefly about each matchup. And this year I'm going to try my hand at even giving a score prediction. I went pretty conservative for the most part. But just to kind of give you a baseline of what I'm thinking. We'll see how that goes. So the first matchup would be me versus Drew, Balls versus Caddy. This is a former division matchup, but now out of division rivals. Drew and I made a draft day trade, as most know, where I traded back from 1.5 to a second and 2/3, and he got a 1, I think a 10 and an 18 or something like that. Which he used that 1 on Jamar Chase, and I used my second round pick on Josh Allen, and my thirds, I think I took Amon-Ra St. Brown and somebody else, I can't remember exactly, but I think it worked out pretty well for both of us. I know I'm happy with the early return on Josh Allen. Speaking of which, 106.35 is really nice to have in the bank. Makes me feel pretty good.
For the pattern, Allen taken off. Can he get there? Stiff arm to
But if anybody can answer that, it would definitely be Patrick Mahomes. So we'll have to see Mahomes' response. Playing against the Cardinals could be kind of a shootout with him and Kyler there. That would be a really fun week 1 matchup to be able to keep an eye on. Using that first round pick that he acquired from me on Jamar Chase is kind of a scary one. Jamar Chase is a big play waiting to happen. A long touchdown could really change the tide of everything in the matchup. Drew has Javonte Williams going, and I can see him having a big game. But then again, the more I thought about it, the more I thought this is a Russell Wilson revenge game. They might just let him keep throwing and doing his thing. So it's hard to see. I can see them front running and just feeding Javonte, which probably that's what I would do and what they probably should do. But they might want to let Russ rub it in a little bit and get the fan base really excited about the Broncos there this year. And then on my side of things, Derrick Henry's obviously a big one, but he's typically slow out of the gate. So he's not one of those guys that just comes in and immediately starts putting up huge, gaudy numbers. So that's a little bit concerning. And then for me, Chase Edmonds in the flex, I just wonder about how many touches they're going to give him. Seems like he's going to get the lion's share, but if he only gets 12 to 15 touches, I don't hate 15 touches, but I'd like to see closer to 20, obviously, for him to get some stats there. But overall, there was some stuff. No Shaq Leonard for the Colts is big, as well as for Drew's fantasy team. And then there was a lot of talk that Drew having 3 first-round picks was just going to make him a powerhouse. But even though he's got a very good roster, and I think a lot of guys would take that, there's not a whole lot of fear for me. Like there's only 2 guys that really scare me, I guess, and that would be Mahomes and Chase, because they could be $125 at any time. And then he's got solid players as well. And the solid players are going to have big blow-up games too, but it's not like you're like a scary roster. It's just a really, really good one. So to me, the Buda Baker would be kind of a scary play, but he's not going to pick 6 Mahomes. That's just not going to happen. So for my first score prediction of the year, I'm going to give myself the edge here and predict a close game where I win roughly 450 to 440. And just so I did all my point predictions in increments of 5. I didn't go 442.87 or something like that. This is just a rough guesstimate. So We'll see how it
picture
goes.
me when you got that big, white, wrinkly body on top of you with his loose skin and old balls. Gross.
We'll see how it goes. Good luck, Drew. And then my next matchup, I got Ben versus Nate. And for this one, I tried to insert a few Marvel jokes as they were having a pretty lengthy Marvel conversation post-draft. So on Nate's side of things, he doubled up on Rams receivers this week by starting Kupp and Robinson. I previously mentioned Robinson, and what a curious game plan that was. But Kupp, you'd have to say, is like Spider-Man.
Hey! You're that Spider guy on YouTube, right? Call me Spider-Man! Okay, Spider-Man! Don't flip! Yeah!
He's a stud. Everything sticks to his hands. He catches everything. He's shifty. He's amazing. And then Allen Robinson, you'd have to say, is like Vision. For those of you who follow the Avengers, Vision is Iron Man's operating system Jarvis turned into a physical being. But this vision of that Allen Robinson, this vision that I'm referencing is the one right after Thanos ripped the Mind Stone right out of his head. Because he was absolutely lifeless and had nothing going on the field out there. And then as far as Nate's team will continue on, I wonder about Alvin Kamara's role with a new coach, with a kind of a new system. Is Jameis healthy? What's going to happen? Like, are they going to rely more on between the tackles and defense, or is he still going to get a lot of those quick hitter passes? So it'll be interesting to see how the Saints want to use Ingram still. They still got Mark Ingram. Seem to have a love affair for that dude. For Nate, I really liked the Devontae Smith play this week. I think that's a sneaky good play. I think even though AJ Brown's there now and he's the better player as of right now, I think Devontae Smith is still probably the number one in Jalen Hurts' mind after the rapport they kind of built up last year. And I think A.J. Brown is going to take some pressure off Devontae, and Devontae could have a good chance to eat against, I believe they play the Lions. And the Lions secondary players have not really hit, but even if Okuda is playing great, if he's over on A.J. Brown, that's just going to free up Devontae to do some things. So I really like that play. For Ben's side, I have concerns about Breece Hall. He's in the starting lineup. He was a big name for a lot of fantasy drafts, and he's just unfortunately not getting the love out there. In fact, the Jets offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, said that basically, I'm paraphrasing here, but Michael Carter is kind of like the heart and soul of the offense. So it seems like Breece is going to take a back seat at least early on in the year. I found it curious that Ben drafted Darnell Mooney in the second round, but he wouldn't even put him in his first week starting lineup. So maybe he's scared of San Francisco, kind of like the Hulk was scared to come out in the Infinity War movie. He didn't want to help out Bruce Banner, so he had to wear the Iron Man Hulk suit. And then Ben's team, I noticed they have that boom ability with Christian McCaffrey, Justin Jefferson, obviously leading the way. So those two guys can go for boom, and you can get some big points. But for this week, the way it's looking, I like dirt balls pretty comfortably over Blizzard. I went 465 to 420, which I'm rooting for you, Ben, because Nate's in my division again. So good luck, Ben, but looks like Nate's going to take it to me. Next matchup is Goody versus Kyle. It's obviously a championship rematch, but a play on Kyle's team name, I feel like they're missing some thunder in this matchup. Obviously, those guys gave up a lot to get where they got last year, so there's only so much you can say about, Goody's team right now. His starting running backs are Mike Davis and Jamal Williams, so that's tough. Kyle, his keepers are going to keep him competitive in some games with his, three-headed monster of Burrow, Higgins, and Pittman. So I'm going to give Thunder the edge in getting revenge over Goody. With a score of 380 to 295. Then I went to Dom versus Ryan. This seems to be a fun little back and forth in the chat. So I'm loving this. It's so exciting that we have this killer matchup of AFC West quarterbacks. We've got, who is it, Mahomes and Herbert? No, it's the other guys. It's Wilson and Carr. Not nearly as exciting. I find it actually kind of hilarious that Ryan's got Carr, seeing as how he was never a big fan of the guy, but I think he's coming around. Also, you got a big tight end matchup. You got Andrews and Kelsey, the first two tight ends taken off the board, as they should have been. So between those two positions there, I think that's going to tell the story of the matchup a lot. Dom this year, I really like his depth. It kind of reminds me of like kind of Brian's team from a couple years ago, where he's going to have a lot of tough decisions in the starting lineup each week in and week out. And knowing Dom, he's probably going to tinker and which is a reference to the league where a guy would change his lineup in the bathroom while he's pooping. He called it a tinker. But Dom's going to agonize over some decisions this year, and sometimes they're going to work and sometimes they won't. And I see that Dom's already making good use of the IR spot and making a sneaky move by picking up Isaiah Likely, who would obviously take a lot of touches if Andrews were to go down. So I kind of like that move, actually. Ryan, the lack of number one wide receivers on that team. He's got a lot of really good receivers, but they're generally number two receivers on their own team. And those guys are going to have big weeks, but not always consistently. So that kind of concerns me going forward for him long term. But and then we're also going to get our first small sample of the much maligned trade that he and I made, where I traded away Leonard Fournette, a.k.a. Playoff Lenny, to acquire Aaron Jones. And I think this trade's going to be talked about pretty much all year long with the way it garnered so much attention in the chat. So we'll see. Dom, the fantasy gods be damned.
You challenge me, mortal? A god of Olympus?
I think you're going to get double-digit wins this year, my friend. You got a lot of depth on that roster, and I think it's going to pay off in a good way for you. I will say that I have concerns about you developing an ulcer if you struggle with your decisions too hard, though. So take it easy. No ulcers, no aneurysms. Health first. Dom over Withers this week. I've got 475 to 420. There ain't no sunshine in Withers winners week one loss. Shout out Bill Withers. Then I have Phil versus John. This, as we all know, the NFL is a passing league now, but we're featuring two quarterbacks that are as good of running quarterbacks as you'll find in Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. The notes I have about Phil's team is wholly wide receivers. Any team that's starting three wide receivers but still has like Deontay Johnson on the bench, that's pretty crazy. Even Robert Woods, who later in the year will get healthy, not to mention still got Nuke Hopkins, who will be coming off suspension. So he's got like 6 legit wide receivers on that team. So if you need a wide receiver, hit up Phil. He's got some. Phil has got speed to burn with guys like Tyreek.
Cheetahs specialize in hunting at speed. Though fast, they're fragile creatures built to sprint after small prey.
Crazy speed outside. Darren Waller is a nice addition to that. And then you got Kyle Pitts. So Waller and Pitts versus each other. John's got Pitts. Phil's got Waller. That's kind of like the 1A matchup to the Kelsey and Andrews matchup. I think Kelsey and Andrews are clearly 1 and 2. And I think Waller and Pitts are like the next 2. And after that, I think it's like kind of a drop off. But yeah, we'll see how Atlanta chooses to utilize Pitts, and then we'll see if Waller kind of loses some targets with Devontae being there now. Lamar, I could see being in a blowout against the Jets, and that may bode well for him, and that may mean he doesn't do as much in the second half. So we'll see how that goes. But I could also see Kyler Murray being in a shootout with Mahomes. So I think if game flow is going to determine a lot on how this matchup plays out. But if I had to pick one that I think is more likely, I think Kyler gets more chances to put up bigger numbers against the Chiefs. John really needs a running back to emerge out of the crop of kind of guys that are kind of waiting. I really like some of the guys he has coming up. But as of right now, he's pretty much just got like one kind of legit running back, and he really needs another one if he's going to contend long term. I feel like this one is going to be one of the closest matchups of the week. It was hard for me to project. I did ultimately go Phil 465, John 460, with somebody on Phil's team breaking one. And I think maybe Kyler has a late turnover trying to force one to try and make up for that deficit that they're going to be looking at against the Chiefs. And I think that could be just enough to put Phil over the hump, which would also be good for me again because John is in my division. So good luck, Phil. Well, good luck to both of you, but you know what I mean. Last matchup, I got Brian versus Seth. The age disparity at quarterback, and they're both keepers, is hilarious in this one to me. You've got Aaron Rodgers versus Justin Herbert, and it's you've got one guy that's been a keeper for over a decade, and you've got another guy that's been a keeper for, this is now his 3rd year. But both are similar play style in the way that they can move and throw on the run, and just a big arm to make up for a lot. And it just looks so pretty when they are playing their best. It's really something to watch. I was not high on Herbert out of college at all, and I was dead wrong, and I'd be happy to admit and happy to say that I enjoy watching him play. This one here, it was a little easier to pick because of the unfortunate 0 spot from Cam Akers on Seth's side. That one's going to hurt. If he's only going to get 3 carries for 0 yards, I know, again, game flow there, but it was a tie game right up until halftime. So very curious what's going on there. And if that doesn't work out, Seth's going to have a really tough time finding a legit number 2 running back without making some moves. But he's been able to rely on Rodgers to Adams for so long. Still got both those guys, but now on different teams. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing as far as fantasy goes. I know everybody's like, oh, double up. There's a lot of complications to having 2 guys on the same team too. So never been a huge concern for me. As far as a plus side for Seth, I can see Najee Harris having a a nice game, because I think if I were the Steelers, I would want to kind of negate and speed up the game a little bit, and I would do that against the Bengals. I would do that by getting Najee involved, kind of ground and pound, and get him a good 20-25 carries. He says he's 100% healthy. No reason to think anything else. So that could be nice. Brian, if he's got that obviously three-headed monster of Herbert, Eckler, and Dalvin Cook. But if he could hit on some of these rookie wide receivers that he took, look out. He's got Drake London, Jahan Dotson, and Wan'Dale Robinson, all with like big potential. The one to really look out for, that obviously Drake London will get the chance to be the wide receiver 1 down there, but I think Dotson, Wan'Dale is nice and looking really good in New York there, but they've also got Tony, and they paid Galladay, and they've got another receiver in the mix, and then you've got Daniel Jones as the quarterback. So I don't see him being a huge contributor his rookie year, but Dotson really could be kind of a breakout opposite of McLaurin. And then you've got Drake London. He's questionable right now, so hopefully he gets 100% and has a really nice rookie year. I think the top end talent carries the brigade over the villains this week. 430 to 410 was my projection there. I went conservative with some of the projection numbers. Didn't want to go too crazy. Somebody inevitably is going to crack 500, I'm sure. Maybe even push 550 to 6. But week 1, it's hard to say. It's always extra time to game plan for these coaches. That kind of leads sometimes to negate some of the superstars, because you want to, if you're the Steelers, oh man, how do we stop Jamar Chase? How do we stop Jamar Chase? Well, then T. Higgins might have something to say about that, and then Tyler Boyd maybe, and then Mixon obviously, and Hayden Hurst. So a lot of different ways for things to go. Don't panic, you guys. It's only 1 week. We'll know a lot more usually after about the first month of the season. Looking forward to doing this, regularly. Hopefully I can get a co-host, whether it be John or we just kind of wing it from week to week here. But this is something I enjoy doing. I'd like to keep doing it. If anybody is still watching at this point and wants to kind of throw their name in the hat, so to speak, if you want to reach out to me personally, that'd be great. I can't believe we're watching football in 13 hours here. It's almost 11 o'clock as I'm recording right now, and I couldn't be more excited. Red zone for the first games, and then Packers at 3:25, Packers Vikings. I have a lot more thoughts about football. I freaking love football. I freaking love you guys.
And I love you, man.
I love this league. And we'll cut it off here. I know I have a tendency to drone on and use kind of a monotone voice, so sorry if I'm putting you to sleep or harming your eardrums. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next time.